Every candidate who's ever walked out of a promotional board has had the same thought in the parking lot. What were they writing? What was on that sheet? You said something and a pen moved. You said something else and nothing happened. And you spend the next 3 weeks trying to reverse engineer a score from the sound of a pen. I've sat on the other side of that table. So let me just tell you what's on it. The sheet in front of an assessor is not a blank legal pad. That's the first misconception. And it's the one that causes the most damage. It's a structured form. Down the left side are the dimensions being scored, the behavioral categories, problem analysis, judgment, leadership, interpersonal sensitivity, oral communication, whatever set that process uses. Next to each dimension is a scale, usually 1 to 5. And underneath or beside each one is a narrow box for notes. Narrow, 2 or 3 lines. And critically, next to that scale, either printed on the sheet or sitting in the assessor's binder, are the anchors. Written descriptions of what a 1 looks like, what a 3 looks like, what a 5 looks like. That's the whole instrument. Dimensions, a scale, anchors, and a small box. Now, everything I'm about to tell you follows from the size of that box. The first thing that surprises people: the assessor is not evaluating you. They're recording you. The judgment mostly happens later, in a calibration session, where the panel goes dimension by dimension and defends their scores to each other using their notes. That's when scores move, which means the note is the evidence. If it wasn't written down, it did not happen. An assessor who remembers you were pretty good, but has an empty box, will not go to bat for you. They can't. They've got nothing to read out loud. So here's the reframe I want you to sit with, because it changes how you prepare. Your job in that room is not to be impressive. Your job is to be easy to write down. Assessors are trained to record behavior, not impression. Not seemed nervous. That's an inference, and it doesn't survive the calibration room. What survives is observable, what the candidate said, what they did, in what order. So the notes are short, clipped, and specific. After years of this, the same handful of phrases show up over and over. Here are the ones I've written and seen written most. No closure. The candidate talked and then stopped talking and never actually landed anything. No decision, no recommendation, no ending. This is the single most common note on the sheet, and it costs points on almost every dimension at once. Did not address the safety issue, or the personnel issue, or the policy issue. There was a thing embedded in the prompt, and the candidate walked right past it. They didn't get it wrong. They never touched it. Answered the question they wanted. The candidate had a rehearsed answer and delivered it regardless of what was asked. Panels catch this instantly, and it reads as unprepared rather than prepared. Solved before acknowledging. Role play almost always has a human being in front of the candidate with a problem, and the candidate started fixing it in the first 8 seconds without ever recognizing the person. That's an interpersonal sensitivity note, and it's the most common one there is. Told, did not ask. Gave direction where a question would have gotten better information. Reads as insecure authority. Ran long, no structure. Content was there. Shape wasn't. Recovered. And I want you to hear this one, because it's positive. When a candidate stumbles and then reestablishes, assessors write it down. Recovery is scorable. A stumble followed by a clean recovery frequently scores higher than a flat, safe, unremarkable answer, because it's evidence of stress tolerance under actual stress. Here's the one that costs the most points, and almost no candidate sees it coming. Did not demonstrate. Not wrong. Not weak. Absent. An assessor can only score what surfaced in the room. If you have 12 years of experience developing people and you never said a word about developing people, the leadership box gets a 2, and the note says, did not demonstrate. Candidates find that unfair. It isn't. It's the whole design. An assessment center is a sample of behavior, and if the behavior doesn't appear in the sample, it doesn't exist for scoring purposes, which means something practical. The things you're best at have to actually leave your mouth, not be implied, not be on your resume. Said in the room out loud, in a way an assessor can write in a 2-line box. Let me describe the gap between a 3 and a 4 in note terms, because that's the gap almost everybody is living in. A 3 note looks like address the issue, reasonable approach, some structure. A 4 note looks like identified root cause, named the standard, gave specific action plus timeline, closed. Read those again. The 4 isn't smarter. It isn't more experienced. It's more specific. And it's finished. That's it. That's the entire difference. And it is almost entirely a delivery problem rather than a knowledge problem. Most candidates in that room know the answer. Fewer of them deliver it in a form that fits in the box. 4 things, and they're all mechanical. 1, signpost. Say the structure out loud. 3 things, safety, the crew, the policy. Now the assessor has a frame to write in, and their notes come out organized instead of scattered. You have effectively written your own note. 2, name the thing. Say the word safety. Say the word standard. Say root cause. Assessors are scanning for the dimension, and the vocabulary is a flag. This isn't gaming it. It's making sure your competence is legible. 3, close every answer. A decision, an action, or an anchor. Never trail off. No closure is the most common note on the sheet, and it is entirely preventable. 4, be specific. I'd counsel him is a 3. I'd meet with him at the start of shift, restate the standard, build a 2-week correction plan, and document it is a 4. Same idea, different score because one of them fits in the box as evidence and the other one doesn't. None of this is a trick. I'm not teaching you to manipulate a panel. The reason it works is that the sheet is designed to reward the officer who thinks clearly and communicates completely, because that's the officer who does well on the fire ground and in a kitchen table conversation with a struggling firefighter. The instrument isn't arbitrary. It's measuring something real. The candidates who score low are almost never the ones who don't know the job. They're the ones who know it and never got it into the box. So practice out loud in front of somebody who will score you honestly, because the gap between what you know and what lands on that sheet is the only gap that matters on board day. If you want to see which of the 8 dimensions you're strongest and weakest on before somebody with a pen decides for you, there's a free calibration in the description. 8 dimensions, a few minutes, no account. See you on the next one.